So, bring me back sa past. So, we prepared a simple game as an icebreaker for today's discussion sana. But since this is a pre-recorded video presentation, I'll just discuss the reason why we come up with this kind of activity. So, the purpose of this activity is to remind everyone na even though hindi na tayo sakop ng Spaniards, marami pa rin talaga silang iniwan sa atin at mga bagay na na-adopt na natin. At ang examples ay yung mga bagay na pinakita nyo as such as the cubiertos, cubiertos, baso, and pitaka, which is mga hiram na salita from Spaniards. So let's start the discussion.
Good day, everyone. I'm Crystal Villa, and I will discuss the Spanish colonial period. Next. The entry of Spaniards in Philippines. First is in 1521, Spanish expedition in Ferdinand Magellan landed on Homonhon Island east of Samar but died in a battle with Lapu-Lapu. Ferdinand Magellan is a Portuguese in the service of the Spanish crown na was looking for a westward route to the Spice Island of Indonesia. Ano ba yung Spice Island? Yun yung kinukuhaan ng mga resources. So, kailangan nila gumawa ng ruta papunta doon para sila yung makauna kumuha ng mga resources tapos i-trade ito sa mga iba't ibang bansa. So, yun, magkakapera sila doon kasi malaki yung ano, yung amount na nakukuha dun sa Spice Island. Then, while routing in the Spice Island, nakarating sila noong March 16, 1521, Magellan Expedition landed on Homonhon Island in the Philippines. He was the first European to reach the island. Then, nung, di ba, March 16, nakaland si Magellan dito sa Pilipinas, and then nakalala niya si Raja Humabon, which is the king of Cebu. Then, kilala na ni Raja si Lapu-Lapu. Then, gusto ipapatay ni Raja kay Magellan si Lapu-Lapu. Pero, wala namang balak na masama si Magellan kay Lapu-Lapu. Gusto niya pa nga ito ipa-convert sa Christianity. And then, noong April 27, 1521, Magellan sailed to Macdan and ensuing battle killed Magellan by the natives leads by Lapu-Lapu. So, hindi si Lapu-Lapu yung pumatay kay Magellan. Isa sa mga natives ni Lapu-Lapu ang pumatay kay Magellan, pero hindi actually si Lapu-Lapu yung pumatay kay Magellan. Actually, wala pa nga si si Lapu-Lapu nung namatay doon si Magellan. Mga tauhan lang talaga niyan. Kaya, naaano rin sa kanya na si Lapu-Lapu kasi mga tauhan niya rin yun eh. Then, nung namatay si Magellan, out of the 5 ships and more than 300 men who left on the Magellan expedition in 1519, isa lang yung naka-return dun sa Spain on September 6, 1522. Nevertheless, the said expedition was considered historic because it marked the first circumnavigation of the globe and proved the world was round. This would give Spain a huge economic advantage by allowing them to buy spices. Ito yung sinasabi ko na kaya sila gumawa ng ruta papunta sa Spice Island kasi ito yung source nila para mag-sell ng mas mataas na price sa Europe. And then, yung mga spices na yon like cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon na ano talaga in demand doon sa Europe ng panahon na yon. Yon. Next is 1543. Spain sends an expedition under different Spaniards, but only the Ruy Lopez de Villalobos arrives in the archipelago and he names the island the Philippines in honor of the son of King Charles I, Philip II, 1556 to 1598 of Spain, but because of the scarcity of food, the expedition is forced to leave the place and sails to Malucas where Villalobos dies. Si Villalobos, siya naman yung sumunod kay Magellan after niya mamatay. Okay, next. In 1543, Ruy Lopez de Villalobos set sail for the Philippines from Navidad, Mexico on November 1, 1542. He followed the route taken by Magellan and reached Mindanao on February 2, 1543. He established a colony in Sarangani but could not stay long because kinukulang sila sa pagkain. So, nagutom sila doon. Yung mga kasama niya, kumakain na ng mga hilaw na pagkain or kung ano man na hindi naman dapat kinakain. And then, he fleet left the island and landed in Tidore in the Moluccas, where they're captured by the Portuguese. Nung nakulong si Villalobos, doon na rin namatay si Villalobos dahil kasi nga nag-fail yung ano niya, yung mission niya na sundan yung route na ginawa ni Magellan. And then, Villalobos is remembered for naming our country Islas Filipinas in honor of King Charles, Philip, Prince Philip, who will later become King of Spain. Next is 1565, reported by Prisa Santos.
Okay, good day, classmates. I am Priscilla Santos, and I'm here to report about the Spanish expedition during 1564 and 1565. On November 21, 1564, the 50th Spanish expedition to the Philippines sailed from Mexico. Aboard 4 ships under the command of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi were 5 Augustinian friars, 380 men, and a fair amount of food, ammunition, and trinkets. The expedition was not the best nor the worst ever fitted for its destination, which at the start had been guessed as New Guinea. Whether it was good sailing weather or the combined forces of the Spanish king's trusted, tactful Legazpi, the conscientious Fray Andres de Urdaneta, ship's chief navigator, the experienced Marshal Martin de Goiti, and the courageous, adventurous Captain Juan de Salcedo. Sa expedition nito, si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi ang unang Governor General dito under the reign of King Philip I. Ang utos ni King Philip I is friendship lang. Sabi niya, magbigay ng mga present sa Philippines para as a sign of affection and love, para mapakitang friendship lang ang gusto ng mga Spanish. But si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, gusto niya ng colonization. Colonization na peaceful lang. Tapos, aware si Fray Urdaneta na ang gusto lang King Philip is friendship. But si Urdaneta, gusto niya rin ng colonization gaya nung kay Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. This was not an undiscovered isolated region where credulous natives gave friendship in exchange for a looking glass or accepted the affection and love of a king several thousand miles away without questioning his motives. More than 40 years passed, the red-lipped, pink-powdered young wife of Cebu's Raha Humabon had been baptized and gifted an image of the child Jesus by Magellan. There had been rejoicing at the conversion, the avowals of friendship, and what appeared to be the easy conquest of the islands. 2 weeks later, in the nearby island of Mactan, Magellan's army of Spaniards and assisting Cebuans were felled by Lapu-Lapu and his men. Magellan was killed, and although there is a little truth to the story that his Achilles' heel had been located in his armor-uncovered knee, his death discovered for the Filipinos the vulnerability of the Spanish. A few days later, 27 Spaniards were killed by recently friendly Cebuans. The hostility survived the years, nourished by the various rumors of other expeditions attempting to reach Cebu. Legazpi landed in Cebu on February 13, 1565. The gifts of glass, beads, and mirrors were received, and cinnamon, wine, and gold were given in exchange. This then, in effect, was barter. The Cebuans might have felt freed from the duties of hospitality and made no effort to disguise their hostility. The Philippines was made up on many little kingdoms, with the chieftains who were friendly or hostile to each other, but who recognized each other's independence. Trade and commerce was carried among themselves with foreigners, the Chinese, Japanese, Arabs, Siamese, Sumatrans, and other neighboring traders. And other neighboring traders had brought to the country their various customs and cultures without attempting to bring the authority of their kings. Sa part na to, nakikipag-trade na yung Pilipinas sa ibang bansa ng mga iba't ibang goods, tas nagkakapalitan na rin ng customs and cultures without attempting to bring the authority of their kings. Kasi sa Spanish, parang nag-lead si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi na dinala niya yung authority niya, yung parang boss siya, ganun. The independence of rule and thinking of the various kingdoms were a help to Legazpi's troops. If they were not wanted in one place, they were still welcome in another. Bohol's chieftain Sikatuna received them warmly. The policy of attraction, a combination of earnest pity, gentle diplomacy, and abundance of beads. Hindi pa nakontento sila Miguel Lopez de Legazpi na nasa isang place sila, so nag-move pa sila sa iba't ibang lugar. Kasi na-discover nila na mayaman pala ang Pilipinas. Kasi ang balak talaga nila is tatlo, the glory, the God, and the gold. Yung sa God, nagtagumpay naman sila na parang tawag dito, ma-share yung religion nila sa atin, kasi nga up until now yung sa Catholic, 'di ba? Yung mga santo, ganun. Parang sineselebrate pa rin sila. With his new ally, Legazpi headed back to Cebu and took the kingdom by force over the protest of Fray Urdaneta. Tupas, the chieftain of Cebu, retreated to the mountain with 2,000 warriors to calm down eventually and made the first documented surrender of freedom when he concluded a treaty with Legazpi providing that they make submission and place themselves under the dominion of the royal crown of Castilla and of His Majesty, as his natural vassals, promising to be faithful and loyal to his service and not to displease him in any way. After that, nagdasal si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi sa image ng child Jesus na binigay ni Magellan kay Queen Juana. na nahanap sa isang bahay. Sabi niya doon, sana i-guide siya at maging matagumpay yung pagsakop niya sa Pilipinas. To his credit, Legazpi did not make any reference in his prayers to doing good for the people sitting in darkness. Instead, he asked that the Lord punish the offenses committed in these islands against thy majesty. After nagtagumpay naman yung pananakop nila, and then na-discover nga nila na sobrang yaman ng Pilipinas. Tas after that, yung Galilean trade na yung na-discover. Yun lang.
So, hi everyone. So, the galleon trade in 1565, it was established by Spanish explorer Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, who founded the first Spanish settlement in the Philippines in 1565. So, yung galleon trade is also known as Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. It was a significant maritime trade route that connected the Philippines with Mexico and Spain during the colonial period. So the route was named after the large sailing vessels called galleons that were used for transportation and trade. So this trade played a crucial role in the global economy, facilitating the exchange of commodities such as silver, gold, spices, silk, porcelain, and other luxury goods between the East and the West. So here are the significant events and figures and impacts. So first is yung initiation ng galleon trade, which is I said kanina na establish ito noong 1565. So ito yung nagmark ng beginning ng regular trade between the three countries. And the trade route was between Manila and Acapulco became well established and regularized by the late 16th century with the sailing of two galleons annually known as the Manila galleons. So here are the key figures, which are Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, the one who established the galleon trade, and Andres de Urdaneta, which is a Spanish navigator who discovered the return route from the Philippines to Mexico, making the trade more efficient. So next is the Acapulco and Manila merchants. They are the various Spanish and Filipino merchants which played a crucial role in the trade. They facilitate the exchange of goods and profits between Asia and America. So the impact of galleon trade is that it strengthened the Spanish colonial control over the Philippines and facilitated the spread of Spanish influence in Asia. And in economically, the trade facilitate the exchange of goods between Asia and America, including yung mga product na pinitrade ng bawat country sa isa't isa. And nag-contribute yon sa economic growth of Manila as a hub for trade in the region. So next is yung galleon trade is nag-lead siya sa cultural changes between Asia and the America, as well as within the Philippines itself, as different ethnic groups and cultures interacted through the trade networks. So nag-end ang galleon trade in 1815 dahil sa various factors, including increased competition from other colonial powers, changing economic dynamics, and the decline of the Spanish Empire. So the trade officially ended in 1815 with the Mexican War of Independence. So yun nga, yung galleon trade had a significant economic, cultural, and geopolitical implications as it allowed Spain to establish a global trading network and exert influence in the Asia-Pacific region. However, it also led to the spread of diseases, exploitation, of indigenous population, and the consolidation of colonial powers in the Americas and Asia. So, may I call on the next reporter?
So 1744 is when the Gohoy Rebellion started. Naglast ang rebellion for 85 years. The longest rebellion happened in the past of Bahilanes. And so ano nga bang pinagmulan nito? The roots of this rebellion is denial of burial rights to Sagarino. Si Sagarin is Francisco's brother. Because of it, he is triggered to fight for his fellow Bahalanes against Spanish rule. The rebels used guerrilla warfare techniques. These tactics included launching surprise attacks on isolated Spanish outposts and rapid retreats through the Bohol Highlands, cultural heritage, and harnessed traditional weapons and symbols to fight for their freedom and independence. And then Spanish expedition led by Captain Sanz in 1828. After a year of struggle, they subdue the rebellion by August 1829. So how did it impact the Bahalanes? So it shows the resilience and determination of the Filipino people in their fight for freedom and independence. Also, excessive taxation imposed on the Filipino, leaving them with little means to support their families. And because of the longest rebellion happened in the past of Bahianos, have promoted the feeling of pride and embracing their rich native heritage and craftsmanship and artwork.
Good day, everyone. My name is Erica Laveste. Today, I will discuss the year 1863. Education in the Philippines was significant from the pre-Spanish era to the Spanish colonial period because it brought about profound changes in the educational and societal practices of the country. Before the Spanish arrived, education was informal, focusing on practical skills taught within families. Yung mga tatay po nila, tinuturuan po nila yung mga anak nilang lalaki sa mga survival skills such as hunting and fishing. While sa mga mothers naman po, tinuturuan nila yung mga anak nilang babae sa mga household chores like cooking and laundry. The arrival of the Spaniards brought about a major change as the educational structure shifted towards formal education aimed at teaching Christian doctrines through the Doctrina Christiana. However, education was segregated, providing more opportunities for Tagalogs and Spaniards, especially the Ilustrados and Mestizos. While access for the masses remained limited, education in 1863 brought about a significant change in the colonial education system in the Philippines. It mandated the establishment of 2 elementary schools in each town, one for boys and one for girls, and standardized the curriculum. Each town is under the responsibility of the municipal government. There is a pre-public school to train men as teachers, supervised by the GC. Primary education became more accessible, leading to the emergence of the Ilustrados, an educated class that would play a key role in the fight for Philippine independence. Prominent figures such as Jose Rizal, Graciano Lopez, Hena, Marcelo H. del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, and Antonio Luna emerged during this period, leading the call for freedom and national identity. The year 1863 marked a turning point in the educational journey of the Philippines during the Spanish colonial period, examining the impact of educational policies on the growth of leaders and the advocacy for the country's independence. May I call on to the next reporter? Thank you.
My name is CJ Balayo. So I just gonna report this 1870, the public garroting of the 3 martyrs accused of being a leader in alleged Cavite conspiracy serves as catalyst for Filipinos to come together and cultivate a sense of national identity. This event also sparked in inceptions of reform movement among Filipino society in Spain, which become known as propaganda. So I just researched this three martyr priests. So uh, yung pangalan nila is famous, like parang pinagsabay siya, like Borsa siya. So the martyrdom of Borsa priest continued to have a profound impact on the Philippine society, political. It symbolized the struggle against oppression and injustice, justice inspiring movement for democracy and human rights. Economically, highlights the importance of social justice and equitable distribution of resources. Socially, it fosters a sense of solidarity and resilience among Filipinos, encouraging activism and civic engagement for social change. So, yung pinaglaban din talaga ng three martyr priest, which is si Jose Burgos, si Jacinto Zamora, and si Mariano Gomez. Sila yung pinaka-main na pinaglaban din nila sila to fight the rights of the Filipino, especially on DR priest. So may paninindigan talaga sila, they are faithful to God. So it happens during the Cavite Unity in 1874 during the colonizations of Spaniards. So ito sa reason bakit ngayon yung ihahami ngayon parang malaking impact talaga siya sa mga Pilipino ngayon yung partner nila to the point na they are fighting for the rights of the Philippines. So nag-start yung movement na yun. Up until now merong pinaglaban yung rights. So parang nakuhaan din siya ng peace yung pagiging partner nila to fight hindi lang dahil laban yung kung ano gusto nila pero the right. So ayun lang naman sa
1887, Noli Me Tangere was published. Rizal was inspired to write the novel from the Wandering Jew by Eugene Sue, a French novelist and a popular author of the serial novel in France, and Uncle's Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, a American author and abolitionist. In Madrid in 1884, Rizal proposed to his comrades the writing of a book about the different aspects of life in the Philippines. Rizal began writing Noli Me Tangere in Madrid between 1884 to 1886. In March 1887, the novel finally printed with the help of one of his friends, Maximo Viola. Maximo Viola was a close friend of Philippine national hero Jose Rizal. She loaned Rizal funds to publish the Noli. Viola was also a propagandist, writer, and revolutionary leader. He advocated for Philippine independence during the Spanish colonial period. The main purpose of the novel is very simply to raise political consciousness in relation to the current state of affairs in the Philippines. Rizal's novels Noli Me Tangere played a significant role in the Philippines' quest for independence. It showed themes that are related to the economy that's still visible in our today's society. Therefore, it was concluded that the economic issues or themes presented in Noli Me Tangere are still relevant in modern economy of the Philippines. The first copy of the novel was smuggled into the Philippines. The authorities found out about the novel and it was banned. Filipinos who have copies or possession of the book were jailed. Next reporter po.
So, in 1892, Andres Bonifacio forms the Katipunan. So, it happens on July 7, 1892, after the Spanish arrested Rizal in July 1892. So, Bonifacio decided that the Philippines would only achieve independence through revolution. So, he founded the Katipunan, a secret society open to both peasants and middle class that employed Masonic rituals to impart an air of sacred mystery. They, in terms of Masonic rituals, they use the usage of passwords, sign of recognition, and certain symbols to distinguish yung mga kasapi sa kanila sa organisasyon. So, Andres Bonifacio, when he assumed control over the organization, it became much more aggressive or active. So with the Grito de Balintawak, the Philippine Revolution began. So Filipinos ripped up their tax and citizenship documents and started fighting through Luzon. So the Katipunan movement frightened the Spanish and their supporters all throughout the country. So by 1896, the Katipunan had over 30,000 members and functioned at the national, provincial, and municipal levels. So new recruits to the secret society underwent a rigorous initiation process similar to Masonic practices and would be sworn into secrecy for whatever they have learned about Katipunan. So they have to remain shut even they are captured by the Spaniards, even they are tortured, they must uphold their sworn duty. So yung ideals of freedom and justice and self-governance continue to inspire us and resonate with us, with the Filipinos today, rather. So while serving as a reminder of their collective struggle and aspirations, ironically, one significant contribution by the Katipunan that many may not realize is their contribution to Philippine history. So, the collected writings, memoirs, and accounts of the group's members have provided an invaluable insights into the society's activities. So, the broader revolutionary movement and give us a look at the country's socio-political climate of the time. So yung records na yon, they aided historians in piecing together the narrative of the Philippine Revolution and understanding the significance of the Katipunan. So next reporter, the floor is yours.
The Philippine Revolution against over 300 years of Spanish rule began with Andres Bonifacio, leader of the Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society that sought independence for the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule. In August 1896, a revolution is proclaimed by Bonifacio. The event is marked in history as the Cry of Balintawak. In this instance, Filipinos tear up their cedulas or ID cards issued by the Spanish government and thereby marked the beginning of the uprising against the Spaniards. The tearing off of community tax certificates or cedulas symbolizes the termination of Katipuneros' loyalty to Spanish regime. The revolution was a pivotal moment in the Philippine history. It marked the beginning of a long and complex struggle for independence, and its legacy continues to influence Philippine politics today. Next reporter po.
So continuation of 1896, after Bonifacio, a new Katipunan formed in Cavite. It discarded the leadership of Andres Bonifacio, and it's headed by Emilio Aguinaldo in March 22, 1869 into February 6, 1964. So, in the fall of 1896, Filipino nationalist revolt against the Spanish rule that had controlled the Philippines since the 16th century, led by Emilio Aguinaldo. So Emilio Aguinaldo was leading the new Katipunan form of Cavite. And then hindi naman talaga to the point na disregard yung leadership ni Bonifacio, parang siya na yung palit doon sa second group of Katipunan. So impacts in any aspect of the political thing that can by the government. So parang ngayon yung parang may tulad din ngayon yung passions ni Emilio Aguinaldo back then kasi naging strong din yung community natin. Ayun naman, pero ayun, gusto ko lang naman it's a great thing din na may nag-continue rin ng Katipunan after ni Andres Bonifacio. So yun lang naman. Thank you so much.
So as you can see in the screen, Aguinaldo established a Philippine Republican government in Biak na Bato, San Miguel, Bulacan. So it happens on June 24, 1897, when Aguinaldo arrived at Biak na Bato in San Miguel, Bulacan and established a permanent headquarters there, located in Biak na Bato National Park, or what is now known as Aguinaldo Cave. So, although the first Philippine Republic didn't last long, it catapulted the Filipino nation onto the world's consciousness. So, it wasn't just another country, it was the first republic in all of Asia. So, even though many countries didn't notice it at first, the First Republic showed everyone that Filipinos could govern themselves. So it proved they deserved freedom after being ruled for over 300 years. So there were many rebellions before this, but they weren't united enough to win. And the second one is the Constitution of Biak na Bato. It was signed it was a truce signed between Filipinos, revolutionists, and Spaniards at Biak na Bato, San Miguel de Mayumo, Bulacan in December 1897. So the redeeming virtue of the Biak na Bato Constitution was that the handful of men who promulgated it took care that it would be provisional or temporary. So this was the decision of men over whom the people had no means of control or direct influence, whose authority came from abnormal and constitutional conditions, but who fixed their authority to 2 years, leaving it to the representatives to interpret the people's verdict. So, Biak na Bato served as the guideline for future laws and constitution as a whole. Despite of it being a short-lived constitution, limitations of terms were imposed, thus reflecting the true essence of democracy, where people have a right to exercise their freedom of speech and the true power lies with the masses. Next reporter, next floor is yours.
So 1998 is after the Spanish-American War ended, Aguinaldo returned to Manila and declared on 12th of June the independence of the Philippines happened in Cavite home of Aguinaldo and became the president of Malolos Republic, later known as the First Philippine Republic. Philippines and the US have a special relationship up until because of the strong history even though US colonized the Philippines to for 48 years, they are allies. And US introduced education system that help us to know and understand our rights. Because of the Spaniards' colonization, it affects us Filipinos how we live and symbolize the impact of the past. One of it is the language we use, religion, history, and even in our culture have a significant part that shows what we have been through in the past. Okay na.